Herman! Long time no see.
The shock people.
Eh, whatever, old man.
You know, it really ain't wise to make a dangerous man look foolish.
You don't need my help for that. You looked in a mirror lately?
It is not a hot take to say that Spider-Man has the greatest rogues gallery in all of superhero media. Honestly, it's really only a competition between him and Batman. Yeah, Superman and the Flash also have really good rosters of enemies, but nothing really compares to how deep and iconic Spider-Man's gallery of villains is. Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Venom, Electro, Lizard, Kraven, Sandman, Mysterio, Scorpion, Rhino, Vulture, Carnage, Chameleon, Kingpin, the list goes on and on. When we're kids, it's super easy to latch onto a character for the simplest of reasons. Costume design is a huge one. The colors and aesthetic of a character were the driving factor for me begging my parents to buy me a toy of them. Sometimes you can love a character purely based on the design, and that is why I've always been attached to Herman Schultz, aka the Shocker. I know I can't be alone in being instantly drawn to the Shocker's awesome design. It just feels so satisfying to look at, feeling both goofy and badass at the same time. Something about those lines on that yellow jacket just hits the freaking spot. Spidey villains can be divided into a few different tiers. There are like top tier baddies that can turn Peter's life upside down at any given moment and can carry their own story arcs in the comics or be the main villain in a movie, such as Venom, Green Goblin, or Doc Ock. Then there's another tier, which are characters who still have a significant amount of depth and who have even ended up headlining as the main villain of a movie or video game, but this is mostly because those big dogs before were already used, so these guys are just a tier lower. Then there's the tier of complete idiots wearing costumes who are career criminals, the guys that basically never win a fight and get clowned on by Peter when they fight him. This is the tier where the Shocker belongs, alongside characters like the Rhino and Hydro Man. What I love so much about the Shocker is that he is straight up a criminal for the love of the game. A lot of the other Spider-Man villains have some sort of traumatic backstory with a deeper, more meaningful motivation for their turn, but Shocker? Nah, he just wants money. Herman Schultz was a common crook, and a pretty bad one at that. He got caught robbing a bank and was thrown into a jail cell. Here is where he came up with the idea of his iconic Vibro Smashers, the gauntlets he wears when he shoots shock blasts. He worked in the prison tool shop, and sort of like Iron Man in the caves, Herman pretended that he was creating something else while he was actually inventing his gauntlets, which is what he used to break out of jail. Once he was free, he created a suit that would protect him from the shocks, and thus the Shocker was born. Shocker started his supervillain career off with a pretty high note, as he actually beat Spider-Man in a fight, although Peter was still recovering from a broken arm, so that's a bit of a fluke if we're being honest. The thing is, Shocker messed up and created a design flaw worse than the exhaust port in the Death Star. He designed his gauntlets to be activated by his thumbs pressing down on them. When Peter fought him a second time, he figured this out and made Shocker look like a fool by just simply webbing his thumbs so they couldn't move, and then he proceeded to knock him out cold. Shocker would continue to make appearances throughout Spider-Man comics and even in other character stories. A lot of Spider-Man villains have had some sort of massive character-defining moment over the years, whether it be in comics, movies, TV, or games. They all have had some super memorable and honestly just badass moments, growing and developing as time goes on. But the same could not be said about my boy the Shocker. His biggest accomplishment was probably when he caused a blackout in New York City and held the city ransom for, get this, $1 million.
$1 million.
I mean, Shocker, come on man. You went through the effort of shutting down America's biggest city. Surely you could have shot for a higher payday. Also, the way Herman decided to announce who was behind this electrical attack was by turning on specific lights in the city that would work together and spell out Shocker. This is genuinely so ridiculous, even Peter points it out, but you know what? I respect it. It's bold and creative. We need more guys like this in the villain industry. Shocker started out just as good as any other Spidey villain, proving that he was a formidable opponent, but now in 2026, Shocker is treated like a joke character. Peter's reaction went from, oh no, it's the Shocker, to, oh come on, it's this clown again. He has become the most disrespected Spider-Man villain. I mean, there are definitely bigger losers in the Spider-Man rogue gallery, but Shocker just has that it factor to me that says he deserves more, and that's why I feel he's so disrespected. Sony made movies about Morbius and Madame Web before even looking at Shocker, but honestly, I'm not that mad about that because we all know they just would have fucked him up. I mean, look what they did to Rhino. But just in case you forgot, and I wouldn't blame you, Shocker actually did appear in a Spider-Man movie. He was a secondary villain to the Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming, and honestly, this may be where he was disrespected the most. This guy worked on Vulture's crew, used the gauntlets, and had the yellow jacket. He came up with the name Shocker, was made fun of it, and then talked so much shit that he got absolutely incinerated. Then the actual Herman Schultz became Shocker. So, okay, cool, that guy was a fake, so now we got the actual Shocker. Oh, he's gonna be so sick, and he was beaten by Ned. Ned, the CEO of Sex, is the reason the Shocker was beaten in Spider-Man Homecoming. The Shocker has such a badass costume, and Homecoming absolutely butchered it, making him just look like a guy who found some tech on the ground. I mean, just look at this Homecoming concept art that I found online. They could have gave him a bit more aura. They did a great job with Vulture, but Shocker got no love at all. Okay, my MCU rant is over. Now let's take a look at some adaptations that did the Shocker right. The reason I fell in love with Shocker at such a young age is because I grew up watching two of the greatest Spider-Man adaptations out there. Those being the 90s Spider-Man animated series and the Spectacular Spider-Man. Both of these versions absolutely nailed their interpretation of the Shocker. In both shows, he was a criminal for hire who was very formidable. He almost took out Peter in the Spectacular Spider-Man and honestly had a pretty good chance at beating Peter in the 90s show, but he had the symbiote and was on absolute demon time. I mean, imagine being Shocker in this situation. It would be genuinely terrifying. He was hired for a pretty routine job, and then out of nowhere, Spider-Man appears, absolutely roided up, and hunts him down. Shocker thinks he can take him, but quickly realizes that he is outmatched when Peter begins throwing giant pillars at him. Herman bolts, but an angry Spider-Man yells the most insane shit of all time.
Get back here, Shocker! Shocker! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
This is peak voice acting. The bottom line is, this show did Shocker justice. He was even a part of the Sinister Six. Spectacular Spider-Man had a bit of a different take by giving him like a Texas accent, which made him feel like a cowboy. It was a cool vibe, but I still prefer the 90s version. Shocker is one of those characters who is most enjoyable when he's surrounded by other villains. He is that perfect complement that adds more danger to a situation. Shocker alone isn't that big of a threat, and I knew that as a kid, but when Spider-Man is fighting someone like Rhino and Shocker also appears to back him up, shit got real fast. Another piece of Spider-Man media that did Shocker well was Insomniac's Spider-Man game. As per usual, Spider-Man catches Shocker in the midst of a bank robbery. This was a completely new design for Shocker, and although it isn't as good as the OG classic fit, I think this worked really well for this universe. It made him feel a bit more modern and threatening. Peter does the classic, calling him Herman and belittling him with jokes. But at one point he asks, "Why are you doing this?" And Shocker answers, "If I don't, they will kill me." Peter says, "Let me help you." And Shocker replies, "If you want to help me, let me have the money." I think these few lines really encapsulate the sad character of the Shocker. He isn't really an evil guy in the way a lot of other Spider-Man villains are. I mean, he obviously breaks the law at times, but it isn't out of a heinous nature. He's a guy who is smart enough to build his gauntlets from inside a prison, but he got too deep into the world of crime to the point of no escape. He is stuck hired to do jobs for money by people way more powerful than him, and he isn't valued, so he knows that they are fine killing him and replacing him. In the game, it was Mr. Negative who forced him to do the job, but there have been countless others to do the same thing, and it makes me feel bad for the guy. The Spider-Man game did a great job portraying this side of Shocker, but unfortunately in the sequel, we learned that Kraven the Hunter killed him off screen, as he was hunting and capturing the strongest New York have to offer so that he could prove his strength. You learn this as you're sneaking around as Mary Jane, and she even says that Herman didn't deserve to die.
Oh no. He didn't deserve this.
Unfortunately, most comics nowadays treat Shocker like an absolute low-life buffoon, like the time he encountered Venom while robbing a store. The clerk he was robbing was not even fazed by Shocker. He also saw him as a joke, and then Venom showed up to stop the robbery. This issue may actually be Shocker's greatest achievement, because he somehow beat Venom in a fight. His gauntlets were the perfect counter to the sound-sensitive symbiote. Shocker exclaimed that he won. He was in absolute disbelief. He ran into the street with the money, saying, "Maybe now I can finally open that cat sanctuary I always wanted to," and then he proceeded to get hit by a car. The cops pulled up and Shocker was arrested. My man deserves better. There is one comic though that actually gave Shocker some depth, and it is the one that I want to talk about last. In issue number 122 of the Ultimate Spider-Man series, Peter wakes up hung upside down in some abandoned building. He has no mask, and he realizes that the Shocker has kidnapped him. Shocker says, "Tell me your name, kid. You know my name. I'm your funny haha joke. You know who I am. Come on, kid, tell me a joke." Tell me how funny I am. As Peter gets tortured with shock blasts, we cut back 2 hours ago to when Peter and MJ were filming some videos on the street. Suddenly, chaos ensues as Shocker robs the bank across the street. He wants everyone to get down and remain calm, as he just wants to take the money and go. When MJ asks who was that, Peter says it's the Shocker, the biggest loser in Loserville. Peter leaves and returns as Spider-Man, kicking Shocker right in the face. He says, "Oh Herman, now you're just embarrassing all of us." I get it, I do. I wanted to be a drummer in a rock and roll band, but then I tried it and realized I in fact sucked at it. Shocker falls to the ground and the crowd of bystanders cheer and laugh at him. Peter says, "I want you to repeat after me. I truly suck at being a criminal." Herman had never felt so pathetic, so humiliated. He got up and repeatedly attacked Spider-Man with his blast, saying, "How'd that feel? How'd that feel? You guys like that? You guys think that was funny? Let me hear you laugh." Herman kidnapped Peter in a van, and then we cut back to the present. I love this moment because it fully fleshes out the sad truth behind the character of the Shocker. Peter and Herman get into a debate after Herman mentions he created his gauntlets. Peter says, "You created them, but why do you choose to rob banks? Is that the best you can come up with? Why don't you use them to help people?" Herman calls Peter a naive kid, saying, "Help people? Who should I help? Who helped me? Only a kid would think that dumb of a thought." Peter tells him that he feels bad for him, saying how he always made fun of him because he thought the Shocker was just some idiot I got to beat up once a week, not realizing that he was in so much deep pain. This struck a nerve for Herman, and he continues to blast Peter. Peter suggests that maybe deep down, Shocker wants to go to jail, and that's why he keeps robbing banks and getting caught. Shocker replies, "I want to get caught? I want to go to jail? Yeah, that's why I studied at MIT until my eyes bled. That's why I worked at Roxxon all those years and gave my life away, because I was trying to go to jail." Herman reveals that he was a very successful inventor at the Roxxon Corporation, creating tons of useful technology for them, but eventually they stole all his ideas and threw him out of the company, ruining his life and leaving him desperate. In the adult world, rich people screw everyone, and not in some cliche way, in a truly mean, nasty, uncaring, inhumane way. They take those who are creative or imaginative, who have a vision for the future, and they steal from them and they destroy them. Why? Because they hate those of us who are creative. They need us and they hate us. They hate us because we are which they know they will never be. A big company like Roxxon hires a guy like me to create for them. And then when they get my best work, do they reward me? No. They fire me. They put me down. They ruined me. They took mine, and I'm going to take it back. During Herman's monologue, Peter breaks out and defeats him. Later, the cops show up and find Herman beat up on the ground. They say, "Oh, it's this guy again." What a joke. This is easily the best written Shocker comic because it gives him a whole new level of depth and perspective. He isn't some cruel guy out there to hurt people. He originally wanted to help people with his inventions, but the immense greed of the rich took all of his hard work and threw him to the street, which broke his mind in a way. Herman no longer had a perception of right and wrong or justice. He just desperately wanted the life he worked so hard to have, the one he was robbed of. He was never meant to be a criminal, and that is why he is so bad at it. So that's all the Shocker content I really wanted to discuss today. If you were someone like me who's always loved the design of the Shocker and wanted to see more of him, I hope that this video scratched that itch for you. I would definitely recommend reading the comics I talked about and watching the animated stuff because it's all really great. Shocker deserves more. He has been regulated to a bit of a joke, and his one movie appearance did not do him justice at all. We need to bring back the Shocker that felt like he could be a threat and even join the Sinister Six. But hey, I have hope. Herman is still alive in the MCU, so maybe one day we'll get to see him again in a better costume. Everyone might not, but I love you, Shocker, and I would chase you to the ends of the earth.